folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, we've been seeing a lot of talk, at least a growing amount of talk when it comes to these power substations that's been attacked there in North Carolina. But it doesn't stop there. Many of you have already been hearing this, and that's one of the things I want to talk about, that it's not just the ones there in Moore County that have been taken out. And reports I saw, I believe it was last night, that they finally got the power turned back on for the people that's been without power for the last few days. As far as I can tell, there is no new information determining who actually did that. I've heard that there have been some warrants issued, search warrants, trying to find information, but I haven't seen specifically that they've announced who did it. Now, I could be wrong, but there's more to it than that. Since this has happened, there's been a few other states come out and say, hey, we've been having this same kind of problem. I mean, we haven't had big blackouts from these attacks, but we have definitely been experiencing attacks on our power substations, part of our electric grid. Washington State and Oregon State have both reported apparently 4 or 5 different attacks there. Florida has reported about 6 in the last few months on various different power stations throughout the state of Florida. So this seems to be a growing trend. And as far as I can determine from just the research I've done, pretty much every one of the law enforcement agencies involved on the local level with all of these attacks are saying about the same thing, that it does not appear to be just some, teenage kids out doing vandalism. It doesn't appear to be some of the drunk locals out doing stupid things. That it appears that these attacks have been very deliberate and specific to take down the power grid. That they're not sure exactly, at least from the research I've done, who is doing it, but they're definitely convinced that it's some type of terroristic act. Now, whether this is some foreign actors doing this, or they are some type of local domestic group, whether it be left-leaning or right-leaning, or it's possible that, get your conspiracy, your tinfoil on, that it could be large entities, government agencies and stuff that are doing this covertly. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone per se, but I'm just telling you that it does appear that these have been done deliberately to, attack the grid. Now, if we just pause for a moment and we add in to all the other things that's going on and that have been happening, we've talked about that, as this collapse continues, that we're going to see an increase in chaos and violence. Well, we've already seen the increase in violence. I mean, just about every major city, every medium-sized city, even small cities, just about everywhere in the country, we are seeing an increase in violence. We're seeing people that, whether it be through mental problems or through desperation or just pure evilness, that they're just taking advantage of the times. We're seeing an increase in violence everywhere. Everything from little petty thefts and crimes that many times the local governments have become so overwhelmed that they're not even prosecuting them. They're not even dealing with them. All the way up to major crimes like rape and murder and violent assaults. We're seeing an increase in just about every area of criminal activity. So we're already seeing the violent increase, and we're starting to now see some chaos. This, because of how things are traveling, how things are going, we could see this to continue to increase. When you look at the economic side of things, we talked about yesterday how just about every major financial entity is now predicting that the coming months are going to be very, chaotic when it comes to the economy, that there's going to be a lot more money lost. I reported the other day that just in certain segments of the economy, there's been a $22 trillion loss this past year. I'm sure much more if you look at other areas. This is going to continue. This trend is going to continue. All along, we've been hearing from government officials that, we'll see a soft landing, that everything that's happening, it's just a V-shaped recovery, and it'll be okay after a while, that we're on the mend. Except that nothing shows that. There's not really any data that really indicates that we're definitely on the mend. everything from economically to the moral degradation of our society, and now chaos. We've seen the crime, and now we're seeing the chaos happen. This is what I'm talking about on a daily basis of why we should get ready, because while it may still be a somewhat slow cooking process, meaning that the country is slowly degrading down, it is picking up speed, and it's happening at more regularity. And the odds are it's going to continue happening. Reported yesterday that John Kerry had made a statement that the green energy initiatives that we're doing here in the United States, we're not moving fast enough. And while some may think that, oh, well, that's a good statement, that means we need to increase our output of these green energy, products. What that really means, in my opinion, is that the chaos that brings us down to our knees to accept this force-fed poison from the globalists is not moving fast enough. And so we need to bring on more hurt. Klaus Schwab infamously has said before that this reset is going to hurt a lot of people, and it's going to create a lot of chaos, and it's going to create a lot of angry people, he said. Well, it's happening, but now they're saying it needs to happen at a faster pace. So the odds going into next year, where we see all these predictions of things getting worse and things getting more chaotic and people losing more money, are probably downplaying the reality. The reality is most likely much worse than what any of these government officials are alluding to. And so we need to continue to prepare ourselves. I talked the other day, and it's something that should be on your mind regularly when you're thinking about your preps, and that is what to do if the power goes out. This is an age-old prepper thing. What do you do when the lights go out? Whether it's because of an EMP, whether it's because some solar, CME happening from the sun, or maybe it's just some local terrorist groups or some foreign agents that are taking out the grid. Whatever it is, you need to be thinking about that. How little of electricity can you get by with? That little solar power generator or that gas or propane running generator, is it capable of keeping you alive or the most critical things in your home going when things are down? Now, this here in North Carolina, they were without power for a few days, 4 or 5 days. That's actually quite a bit of fuel if you're going to run a little generator. You need to do the math. Most that I have seen in an 8-hour time period can go through up to 5 gallons in 8 hours. So you're talking in a 24-hour time period, 15 gallons of fuel is not uncommon for a generator to take in one single day. So you're talking a lot of fuel. Is it better to store up a lot of that fuel, or would it be smarter to just learn to deal without it and only run the most minimal things? When chaos starts happening on a more widespread basis, and we are seeing that. We're seeing it now in areas that we've never seen before, in suburban and small and medium towns. You need to get ready for that. When you're out in your daily business, whether you're going to the grocery store or some department store or paying the bills or going to work, are you on guard? Are you anticipating or getting ready all the time because of something that might happen? Are you kind of gray manning it, but yet with the idea that it could happen and that you're on the ready all the time? This is the difference between a trained mind when it comes to combat and an untrained mind. The untrained mind goes about their daily lives, and they rarely ever think throughout the day that, what if something happened right now? What if someone jumped out from around that corner? What if someone walked into this building with a gun? Well, what if? Most people, they go about their daily lives and they're focused on their job, they're focused on their family, they're focused on a project they're working on, a TV show they watched, but they're not usually focused on what are the dangers that could just be right around the corner. This is something, when I speak of training your mind, that you need to be doing. It doesn't mean that it needs to consume all of your thoughts, but throughout the day, periodically, do you think about that? Do you wonder what would happen if someone, came out from around that corner, if a person walked in firing a gun in the air, robbing the place, if someone ran me off the road and tried to carjack me? What would you do if someone tried to kidnap someone from your family, or did a home invasion? These are the types of things that you should think about and try to come up with some ideas of how that you would respond. This is part of mental training. Doing this in the same way when it comes to electricity. What would you do if the power was shut off? If you came home from work and there was no electricity, and no guarantee that it's going to be turned on anytime too soon, what are the first things that you do? Typically, whenever there's a disaster, the first few minutes to few hours are the most critical. So how you react in the very beginning could very well determine the outcome for you and your family. So continue preparing and continue getting ready, because things like these power grid attacks could continue on. We don't know. Maybe they won't, but all the signs point to more chaos and more violence. So continue to get your houses in order, folks. Prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.